Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Get More Students podcast. I'm your co-host, Alex Asher, CEO of LearnCube.
And I'm Herbert Gozer, founder of Herbert Gozer Digital.
Now, we are going to be talking about testimonials in this particular episode. It is one of the most important visual assets you can create for your business and marketing your service, whether that be selling, online tutoring or selling online language course or whatever that may be in terms of your education product. Testimonials are going to be an absolutely critical component. And you're very familiar with this as well, Herbert, particularly with digital assets, right?
Of course, so valuable. One of the most valuable assets that an organization can have, and used, of course, to build trust and social proof with your target audience.
So let's make sure that we've got our audience totally hooked on why, again, it is so important to not just have testimonials, but have a process of getting more of them. Why don't you talk me through some of those key ideas, Herbert?
Right. Most people know how important testimonials are at driving your business forward. But the big question is, how do we get those? Is there a process of getting them? What should a testimonial look like? And how do we manage that process so that we continue getting testimonials from our students and our customers? So yeah, I think that we're going to go through those steps today and hopefully give our listeners some tips and strategies on how to make that a bit easier.
Excellent. So then with that in mind, let's just kind of clarify what we mean by a testimonial. So, and we're going to be talking about different grades of testimonials, but in essence, it's really a customer's insight, like an insight into a customer's story or experience with your product or service. And usually in their own words, or they've had a major part in contributing to that. And there are different types of these testimonials. They could be in the form of a story, which I think is one of the ones that you like in particular, Herbert. But that could be done through an interview. I've actually had a lot of success with LearnCube customers doing basically just talking to their phones as almost like a customer monologue of that story. So it doesn't require necessarily somebody on your team to kind of facilitate that. So student stories, customer monologues, Q&A is, I guess, another one. Herbert, are there any others that you're familiar with?
Yeah, most of the education brands that we work with, leverage student stories, which is a great way, or even just using screenshots of Google reviews, Facebook reviews. But you could also use a case study, so something maybe more detailed, more in depth, especially if you're looking at maybe higher priced programs.
Yeah. And my understanding with the case studies is the difference between, I guess, what kind of elevates it from like a testimonial to a case study is usually the level of detail and usually kind of the outcomes that kind of were generated from that. Whereas a testimonial is more a sense of, I had this experience and these are my words of my experience with this product or service. So those are, I guess, some to keep in mind in terms of the different formats. Now, I think where to put these testimonials is an important piece, because for me, it also indicates the value of the testimonial. Where are the places that you can put these testimonials, Herbert?
Right. Obviously on your website, front and center. If you have amazing testimonials, especially if they are video testimonials or written testimonials with a photo of the student or your customers, then you want them to get as much space as possible. So putting them on your website, and not just in one place on your website. You want to kind of spread them across all of those important pages, the course pages, the sales pages, to boost and optimize conversions. Of course, your social media, whether that be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, posting YouTube videos if you're doing student stories or interviews, and of course on the relevant third-party review sites that you might be on, whether that be Google My Business, maybe it's TripAdvisor, maybe it's Trustpilot, or any of those other relevant sites.
So yeah, I'll sort of back that up, but I guess for me, you always want to have like a, what do you call it, like a library of visual assets, and including testimonials. And so those, as you say, you can put them on your website, you can put them on your social channels. They're great, but you also need to have this stock of third-party review sites where you also host these testimonials. Because generally with these third-party websites, it's really the customer or student that has to go about creating the account and providing the review. And I think just for the fact that it's exactly for that fact that it's a difficult thing for somebody to do, it really shows that that student or customer has been in charge of putting out that testimonial, which is why people trust them more when they are on a third-party site. So you kind of need to have a bit of a balance, I would say, of having some where you can use anywhere, but definitely having some in these third-party, because basically it makes the reader or the viewer feel like this is a more verified, trustworthy testimonial experience.
No, I agree. It wouldn't make sense if you have all your testimonials on your website, and then if someone Googles your business, you have 0 Google reviews. So you really want to make sure that, you are present on those main third-party review sites.
Yeah. So when you have these and you know where to put them, you've got this sort of nice balance. I quite like this concept of you having there are different grades of testimonials. And so you put on the worst sort of grading, but is still useful, is a star rating, right, Herbert? You probably see them on those with no commentary, nothing,
nothing, just 3, 4, 5 stars on Google or on Facebook. Hey, it's better than nothing, right? But it doesn't really tell me about the experience of the customer or the student. But again, we'll take it. But we definitely want to encourage better grades of testimonials.
Yeah. And so what's the level up from a star rating?
Then that would be a written testimonial with a star rating, or maybe just a written, no star rating. A few sentences of the student's experience, and if they enjoyed the course or program. That's probably the next stage.
And I think, again, you've got different grades of I've seen plenty of just one-liners, but quite honestly, like if you're saying great experience, that's a low grade testimonial. You really want to know why it was a great experience and really get into the details. The more details you provide, naturally it provides more color, it's more believable, people take more stock of it, and it's more useful to you. And you can always cut it up into those little bite-sized pieces if you wish.
Yeah.
The next level up, of course, is with imagery, right? So there's one thing in terms of, I'll give you some of my words and you can post them somewhere, but it's a whole different level when somebody also gives you their image to go with it, and or their image even better in basically the activity of your service. An example for LearnCube might be you've got that student in the virtual classroom, looking happy, and there's something that kind of connotes your service that you're offering. But the gold standard, of course, is what? Your favorite?
Is video, which is, of course, the most difficult to attain and to create. It takes a bit of effort, as well as on the student's part. They have to be willing to get in front of a camera and give you their video testimonial.
Yeah. And again, the reason people trust video more is they also kind of put themselves in that position of whoa, this person has had to go in front of a camera, find a place, find the time, even though it only takes a couple of minutes. Be okay with that video being online. It shows a level of commitment to whatever services that they're actually recommending. So that's why it's the gold standard. Also, it provides the most flexibility. You can cut it up in different ways. You can take even screenshots from that same video. You can take the words, of course, that were spoken and put that into a written format. All of that can be used, which is why video is the gold standard when it comes to to providing this.
Definitely.
So we've now gone through that. It's time to talk about how to go about doing this, Herbert. So how do we go about orchestrating these testimonials?
Right. I guess the first question is, when do you ask for a testimonial? So timing is very important. You probably don't want to do it a month after the student finishes the course. You also don't want to do it 2 weeks before they finish the course. You want to do it very timely. So, for example, for B2C, for students, get them when they are hottest. That might be in the last lesson of their course.
It also might be at the start of their course. Like I often think that your best time is usually in that kind of sweet spot where they've got to know and trust you just enough for you to be able to be in a position to ask. Like they've got something that they can talk of the experience. And it's usually because with the onboarding experience, that's something you have a lot of control over. The more time you give somebody, the more things that can come up. Like they could get busy, they could get distracted. But the first couple of weeks, that's really under your control. They're the most motivated as well.
It's the honeymoon phase. Actually, I know a lot of schools that do like a first feedback, they like to call it, after the third lesson, the second or third lesson, to see how things are going. And of course, to catch anything if that can be improved. I totally agree with that. Getting them while they're still hot, and but also, of course, at the end of the course is usually when a lot of schools try and get feedback and testimonials from students, and so that might mean getting the teachers involved as well, and making sure that the testimonials, the feedback gets collected in that last lesson. Otherwise, as soon as they leave the school, then it's much more work and effort to get the testimonial from the customer.
Yeah, I really think you need to have it done while they're in the active use of the product. As soon as they've gone, there's no leverage. I think it's really that's the worst timing. Is you've had this experience. Thanks so much. By the way, would you like to do a testimonial? I've got no skin in the game. Whereas if it's in the last week or two of my experience, my teacher might be a bit nicer to me. This, the education company might be a bit nicer to me. I don't know. There's something about you're still kind of committed, in the experience. It's also the time where the teacher is also most committed to the student. They've got the closest relationship. They've built all of this trust over that period.
Exactly.
And this is totally relevant to in person as it is to online. Even marketplaces, but you're going to have to get the tutors or teachers really involved in this process if they're the main experience that the student is taking. So, for example, if you're doing self-study and that kind of thing, that's a different kettle of fish. But if you're doing anything that involves the teacher or the tutor as the main kind of component, they're going to have to be very involved. And I think you need to incentivize those teachers and tutors to get involved, both by making it easy for them, and you may also want to reward them for that. It kind of makes sense as well. You're rewarding them for an asset you can use. That's just like transactional. That's great. But then you're also rewarding them for the fact that, well, they've obviously done a good enough job to have the student feel like they've had this great experience. Why wouldn't you reward them for that experience as well? So I think it's definitely something in terms of how to orchestrate a testimonial. You need to have incentive structures to do that.
Yeah, and it's definitely a win-win because you're building your content library of testimonials, and you can never have too many testimonials. No.
So one of the things that you were talking about as well is having a real process about that. So we've already talked about timing. We actually already kind of identified two major windows where it would make the most sense to ask for a testimonial: at the end of their course, if they're doing a course, or, as I say, at the end of their onboarding, in the first 2 or 3 weeks when they've built already a good rapport, and they're kind of at their I've already tried this experience. I can talk enough about how great it is. But both of those, you can automate these things, can't you, Herbert?
Absolutely. I mean, it can be as simple as automating an email notification a couple of times to students that gets triggered after the second lesson, the third lesson, after their last lesson. Yeah. It could be that the teachers actually instigate that and hand out maybe paper feedback forms after the third lesson or during the lesson. Yeah. So then, it has to be filled out and it will get collected. So there are many ways of doing that, but you definitely want some sort of fixed process or automation to make your life a little easier.
And you probably should have some metrics and some goals, right? Like a testimonial a month or some other kind of goal that helps you stay true to that building up of like new and constantly refreshing your stockpile of testimonials.
Exactly.
So we're going to move next into what to say, because I think this is another area that really stumps people that are wanting testimonials. What do I ask? And how can I make sure this is a good one? Do you have any thoughts on this, Herbert?
Sure. I mean, especially if you are looking to get more video testimonials, whether that be in the form of a student story or an interview, a Q&A, then obviously you're going to have some sort of format and some questions for them, since you're instigating that, and asking them, what was the problem before they enrolled in your services? What is their motivation for learning XYZ? How did you find us? What was your experience like during the course? And what did you love about it? So those are all very, very simple questions that can really lead on an interview, a story. And I mean, I can give you an example of a language school that very successfully does this. Two examples. One does student stories. So they call it Student of the Week. And so they feature a student from the school every single week on their social media. And it's a story about where the student's from, why they came to, for example, Barcelona to learn Spanish, and what their experience has been like. And of course, it's very visual with a photo of the student, usually doing something fun in Barcelona. And that works extremely well. And because this has been going on for so long and it's become a thing, students want to become the Student of the Week. And that they are more involved in creating content and testimonials and stories for you. And the second example is student interviews. So regularly getting students during their course and doing an interview, just like a Zoom call, and asking them all these questions about what their goals are and why they're learning. What has their experience been? And I know that this school posts those stories on YouTube, and again, building social proof, online presence, and trust with your target audience.
Excellent. One of the things that I also think is quite useful about this kind of format, what you were kind of talking about is, and I'll kind of repeat it maybe with an example with LearnCube as well, simply because I think the format is really helpful because you can give it to a student to do by themselves as a monologue. And I think, you actually gave me the idea as well, Herbert, where they use their mobile phone to just record themselves. They don't need anyone else. There's no fancy equipment, and it feels very authentic. But by using this format, it provides real contrast between like what the problem was at the beginning to what the solution was. And so I've even followed, you can find these on other review sites, but if you're selling B2B, for example, and it could be, you can translate this into a B2C context, but what is the business problem that you're trying to solve with the solution? So in our case, I even kind of, when I knew that this customer was ready to do a testimonial, I even prompted them with the words that they use, because you actually do want to verify that this person is going to give you a 5-star review and say the things that you want them to.
Sure.
So you might want to give them like, hey, you told me that, you were using different systems. You were using Zoom and it was a great product for, webinars, whatever, but actually you were looking for a professional virtual classroom or like an all-in-one solution. And then the next part is, why did you choose, LearnCube, or what did you like best about LearnCube in this case? And, again, you prompt them with the words that they've already told you, because they've often, often they've had like, oh my God, I've had such a great experience. I really was using all of the tools and it really felt a new experience. The student was stoked. I was able to send them the class review after. Everything was really professional. Everything was seamless. And so you use their words back at them so that they've got not a script, but bullet points of what they said to you. I also don't think it's a bad thing to even say, what were the things that you think we could improve on? Because then again, often they've told you something, and as long as it's not too detrimental to your business, it can actually add a lot more trust factor that they're like, one of the things that, LearnCube, for example, could work on is, we were considering other low cost, generic options. And then we chose LearnCube because we wanted X, Y, and Z. And then also finishing on, would you recommend, in this case, LearnCube, but your service. And that is your way, that those 4 questions can work for anybody. And I think it's a really powerful way to get contrast, show what the experience is, make sure that they give a call to action, at the end as well. And I would really say that you want to verify the ones that you're getting on video. You want the more dynamic, energetic people doing those videos.
Of course.
So I think that's us for today, Herbert. Is there anything else around testimonials that you wanted to cover?
Sure. I think reputation management is also maybe the last point to cover. And so making sure that you're monitoring your reviews on all of the platforms that you're using, especially Google My Business and Facebook, and responding to both positive and especially negative reviews. You can turn a negative review into a glowing ambassador if you respond in a timely way, and in the correct manner, and trying to solve that problem for the student. You don't want to go into a deep discussion on that platform. If there's something that needs to be looked in further, I would take it off the platform and email directly or private message them, but showing that you are, it shows that you take reviews seriously and that you are always looking to improve your services.
Yep, totally agree. So Herbert, we have gone through what's a testimonial. We've talked about why they're so important, how it gives you this amazing library of assets to be able to use in everything in your marketing and sales funnels. We've talked about the different types. We've talked about the different grades of testimonials that you want. We've given you ideas on how to structure those, some easy formatting, how you can really make those testimonials pop on your website or on those review sites. We've also told you about how you can, keep these maintained and keep these up to date. And hopefully we've also given you some inspiration of how you can get more students today. So Herbert, where can people find you if they're interested in learning more how you use testimonials with your Facebook advertising?
Of course, they can find out more about our digital ads agency for education brands at herbertgerzer.com.
Excellent. Now, you can also learn more about LearnCube at learncube.com. We provide a virtual classroom and all-in-one solution for language and tutoring businesses. But likewise, Herbert and I also have our Get More Students community. You can join for free. It's at www.getmorestudents.org. Very simple. Sign up for free. And we really hope you do well and all the best with your testimonials. Thanks again.
Catch you in the next one.